After viewing the video and reading this lesson, you will be able to recognize the polygon called a kite, place the kite in the family of quadrilaterals, define a kite, and know the three identifying properties of a kite. Let's begin. What is a kite? You probably know a kite as that wonderful toy that flies aloft on the wind, tethered to you by string. That toy kite is based on the geometric shape, the kite. A kite is a quadrilateral with two pairs of adjacent, touching, congruent, equal length sides. That means a kite is a plane figure, a closed shape, and a polygon. Sometimes a kite can be a rhombus with four congruent sides, a dart, or even a square with four congruent sides and four congruent interior angles. Some kites are rhombi, darts, and squares. Not every rhombus or square is a kite. All darts are kites. Kites can be convex or concave. A dart is a concave kite. That means two of its sides move inward, toward the inside of the shape, and one of the four interior angles is greater than 180 degrees. A dart is also called a chevron or arrowhead. Let's make a kite. Find 4 uncooked spaghetti strands. Cut or break 2 spaghetti strands to be equal to each other, but shorter than the other 2 strands. Touch 2 endpoints of the short strands together. Touch 2 endpoints of the longer strands together. Now carefully bring the remaining 4 endpoints together so an endpoint of each short piece touches an endpoint of each long piece. You have a kite. Drawing a kite. You can also draw a kite. Use a protractor, ruler, and pencil. Draw a line segment, call it Ki, and from endpoint I, draw another line segment the same length as Ki. That new segment will be IT. The angle those two line segments make, angle I, can be any angle except 180 degrees, a straight angle. Draw a dashed line to connect endpoints K and T. This is the diagonal that, eventually, will probably be inside the kite. Now, use your protractor. Line it up along diagonal KT, so the 90 degrees mark is at angle I. Mark the spot on diagonal KT, where the perpendicular touches. That will be the middle of KT. Lightly draw that perpendicular as a dashed line passing through angle I and the center of diagonal KT. Make that line as long as you like. If you end the line closer to angle I than diagonal KT, you will get a dart. If you end the new line further away from angle I than diagonal KT, you will have a convex kite. Connect the endpoint of the perpendicular line with endpoint T. Label it point E. Connect point E with point K, creating line segment EK. Notice that line segments or sides, TE and EK, are equal. Notice that sides KI and IT are equal. You probably drew your kite so sides KI and EK are not equal. That also means IT and TE are not equal. You could have drawn them all equal, making a rhombus or a square if the interior angles are right angles. As long as 2 pairs of adjacent, touching sides are congruent, you have a kite. Now let's look at the identifying properties of kites. The kite's sides, angles, and diagonals all have identifying properties. To be a kite, a quadrilateral must have 2 pairs of sides that are equal to one another and touching. This makes 2 pairs of adjacent congruent sides. You could have 1 pair of congruent adjacent sides but not have a kite. The other 2 sides could be of unequal lengths. Then you would have only a quadrilateral. Your kite could have 4 congruent sides. Your quadrilateral would be a kite, 2 pairs of adjacent congruent sides, and a rhombus, 4 congruent sides. So, some, but not all, kites are rhombi. If your kite, rhombus, has 4 equal interior angles, you also have a square. Where 2 unequal length sides meet in a kite, the interior angle they create will always be equal to its opposite angle. Look at the kite you drew. Angle K is equal to angle T, and angle I equals angle E. It is possible to have all 4 interior angles equal. making a kite that is also a square. The two diagonals of our kite, KT and IE, intersect at a right angle. In every kite, the diagonals intersect at 90 degrees. Sometimes one of those diagonals could be outside the shape. Then you have a dart. That does not matter. The intersection of diagonals of a kite is always a right angle. A second identifying property of the diagonals of kites is that one of the diagonals bisects or halves the other diagonal. They could both bisect each other, making a square, or only the longer one could bisect the shorter one. For what seems to be a really simple shape, a kite has a lot of interesting features. Using the video and this written lesson, we have learned that a kite is a quadrilateral with two pairs of adjacent congruent sides. Kites can be rhombi, darts, or squares. We also know that the angles created by unequal length sides are always congruent. Finally, we know that the kite's diagonals always cross at a right angle, and one diagonal always bisects the other.